They buried her alive, not for murder, not for treason, but for being loved. In the heart of Rome, where emperors claimed divinity, there existed a punishment so cruel that even executioners wept. This is not a story of warriors. This is the story of children girls no older than 10 who were chosen by the gods and destroyed by men. What you are about to hear will challenge everything you believe about faith, purity, and the price of civilization itself. The year is 57 BC. 10-year-old Livia Quintana is on her knees in the courtyard, shaping wet clay into a crude figure of the goddess Juno. Her fingers are stained red from the earth. She's humming some melody her mother taught her about harvest time and full moons. Livia. Her mother's voice cuts through the morning air like a blade through silk. Livia looks up. Claudia stands in the doorway, gripping the frame. Her knuckles are bone white. Her face has gone the color of spoiled milk. Come inside. But I'm making now. There's something in that word, something that makes Livia's stomach twist even before she understands why. She drops the clay and runs inside. Her father sits at the table with his head in his hands. Marcus Quintana, a merchant who's sailed to Egypt, who's bargained with Phoenician traders, who fears nothing, is shaking. Claudia drops to her knees, grabbing Livia's shoulders so hard it hurts. Men are coming, important men. When they ask you questions, you stay silent. You say nothing. Do you hear me? What men, Mama? What's wrong? Promise me. I don't understand. Claudia's grip tightens. Her nails dig into Livia's skin. Promise me. I promise. Her mother pulls her close, crushing her against her chest. Livia can feel her heartbeat, fast, panicked, like a rabbit caught in a snare. I tried everything. I offered them gold. I told them you were sick. I begged every god I know. The gates explode inward. No warning, no knock. Just the sound of wood splintering and boots on stone. 6 men pour into the courtyard like water through a broken dam. They wear white robes, so pure they seem to glow in the morning sun. At their center walks the Pontifex Maximus, Rome's highest priest, a man whose face looks like it was carved from marble and forgot how to move. Marcus lurches to his feet. Pontifex, there's been a mistake. We paid our taxes. Our family has done nothing. The priest raises one hand. The silence that follows is absolute. Marcus Quintana, Claudia Fabia. Your daughter has been selected by sacred lot to serve Vesta. This is not negotiable. This is divine will. Claudia tears free from the attendants who've appeared beside her and throws herself at the priest's feet. Please, she's just a child. Take me instead. I'll serve. I'll do anything. The goddess requires purity. You are too old. Then take gold. Take our house. Take everything we own. Vesta does not barter. The priest turns to Livia. His eyes are empty, 2 black holes where warmth should live. Child, step forward. Livia's legs won't move. She looks at her father, desperate for him to do something, say something, save her. But Marcus just stands there staring at the floor. His hands are trembling. When he finally speaks, his voice is barely a whisper. Go. It's an honor. Something inside Livia shatters. Papa, go. The priest's hand closes around her wrist. His skin is cold, corpse cold. He pulls her forward. Wait. Livia twists back, reaching for her mother. Mama. Claudia breaks free one last time. She crashes into Livia, wrapping her arms around her, sobbing so violently her whole body convulses. I love you. I love you. Remember that. No matter what they do to you, no matter how long it takes. Remember. The attendants rip her away. Livia screams. It's not the scream of a child. It's something primal, something animal. Her throat tears. Her voice echoes off the courtyard walls, bouncing back at her like a mockery. They drag her toward the litter waiting outside. She fights them, kicking, biting. Her sandal flies off. She doesn't care. She digs her heels into the ground, clawing at the stone. The last thing she sees, her mother collapsed on the ground, her father holding her back. Both of them watching their daughter disappear into the belly of Rome's most sacred lie. The litter curtains close. Darkness swallows her whole. Inside the litter, Livia curls into a ball, gasping for air between sobs. Her chest hurts. Her throat burns. She can still hear her mother screaming, getting fainter and fainter until there's nothing but silence and the rhythm of the slave's footsteps carrying her away. Breathe slower or you'll vomit. Livia jerks upright. There's someone else in here. A girl maybe 15 sits in the shadows across from her. She wears the white robes of a Vestal Virgin. Her hair is wrapped in linen so tight it pulls at her temples. Her hands are folded in her lap like a corpse arranged for viewing. Who are you? I was Tertia. Now I'm Vestal Secunda, second servant of the flame. I want to go home. So did I, 5 years ago. Livia wipes her face with the back of her hand. Snot and tears streak her skin. Why are you here? To make sure you don't jump out. 3 girls tried last year. 1 made it 6 streets before the crowd turned her in. They always do. Romans love the Vestals. They just don't love us enough to save us. I don't understand what's happening. They're taking you to the house of Vesta. You'll live there for 30 years. You'll guard the sacred flame. You'll never marry, never have children, never touch a man. If you break your vow, she pauses. There are worse things than death, much worse. Livia's hands are shaking. What if I say no? Then your family dies. Your father, your mother, your cousins, everyone. Refusal is treason against the gods. Secunda leans forward. But here's what they don't tell you. The selection isn't random. They choose girls from families who have something enough wealth to matter, not enough power to refuse. Your father's a merchant. Livia nods. Then you were always going to be chosen. The Pontifex has a list. 20 names. He draws lots in front of the Senate, but the lots are marked. The whole ceremony is theater. My mother didn't know. She knew. That's why she was screaming. The words hit Livia like a fist to the stomach. All those nights her mother stayed up praying, all those offerings to the household gods, all those whispered conversations that stopped when Livia entered the room. She knew, and she couldn't stop it. How long have you been there? Livia whispers. 5 years. I have 25 left. Do you ever see your family? Secunda's face goes blank, that eerie mask-like calm that Livia will learn to recognize as survival. Once a year, at the festival of Vesta, I stand on the temple steps and watch my mother in the crowd. She's not allowed to speak to me, not allowed to touch me. She just stands there and cries while I pretend I don't see her. The litter jolts to a stop. Secunda stands smoothing her robes. When she speaks again, her voice is flat. Empty. We're here. When you step out, you will not cry. You will not speak. You will walk with your head up. If you show weakness, they'll break you faster. I can't. You will. Because if you don't, they'll make an example of you. And then they'll come for the rest of us. The curtains open. Sunlight blinds her. Livia stumbles out onto steps so hot they burn through her remaining sandal. Before her stands the house of Vesta, beautiful and terrible, like a tomb built from light. They march her through gates that close behind her, with the finality of a coffin lid sealing shut. The courtyard is filled with women, 6 of them standing in perfect formation. White robes, white head coverings, faces like death masks, smooth, expressionless, empty. The eldest steps forward, Licinia. She's 41 but looks ancient. Her skin is stretched tight over her skull. Her eyes are the color of winter ice. Remove her clothing. Livia's heart stops. What? You heard me? No, please, hold her. 2 attendants materialize from nowhere. They grab her arms. Livia screams, kicking, thrashing. Her remaining sandal flies off and skitters across the marble. They don't care. They strip her tunic over her head in one brutal motion. She's naked in the center of the courtyard, naked in front of strangers. The shame is worse than the fear. Livia tries to cover herself, but they wrench her arms behind her back. She's sobbing great heaving gasps that rack her whole body. Snot runs down her face. Spit. She doesn't care anymore. She just wants it to stop. Licinia picks up a bronze razor. The blade catches the sun. Your hair carries the memory of who you were. That girl is dead now. No, please, not my hair. Hold her head. Hands grip her skull. The razor scrapes across her scalp, rough, violent tearing. Livia screams, but they've stuffed a cloth in her mouth. She bites down on it, tasting copper and salt, and her own tears. Chunks of dark hair fall around her feet like birds shot from the sky. When it's over, they shove her toward a bronze mirror propped against the wall. The creature staring back isn't her. Can't be her. It's some bald, hollow-eyed ghost wearing her face like a stolen mask. Say your name. Livia's voice cracks. Livia Quintana. Licinia's hand shoots out and strikes her across the face. The sound echoes off the marble. Livia's cheek explodes in pain. Blood fills her mouth, hot and metallic. Wrong. You are Vestal Junior, youngest servant. You have no family, no past, no name except what Vesta gives you. Say it. Livia spits blood onto the white stone. No. The second slap is harder. Stars burst across her vision. Say it. I'm Livia. Licinia grabs her jaw, squeezing until Livia feels her teeth grinding together. Her nails dig into soft flesh. You can say it now, or you can say it after 3 days in the dark cell with no food and no water. Your choice. Livia's legs give out. She hits the burning marble hard. Her knees crack against stone. Every part of her is screaming, her scalp, her face, her chest, her soul. I'm Vestal Junior. Louder. Vestal Junior. Again. Vestal Junior. Licinia releases her. Good. Welcome to your new life. She walks away. The other Vestals follow like a line of ghosts. Their footsteps fade into nothing. Livia stays on her knees, naked and bleeding, staring at the pile of her own hair scattered across the courtyard like the corpse of who she used to be. Secunda appears beside her. She drapes a white robe over Livia's shoulders, rough wool that scratches her skin raw. Get up. I can't. You have to. Why are you helping me? Secunda's voice drops to barely a whisper. Because 5 years ago, I was you. And the girl who helped me, she let the flame die 6 months later. They flogged her until she couldn't walk. She served 24 more years crawling. She hauls Livia to her feet. I'm not helping you because I'm kind. I'm helping you because if you break too fast, they'll make an example, and examples hurt everyone. That night, they take her to the temple. It's small, circular. At its center burns a flame barely bigger than a candle. Livia stares at it. That's it. That's everything. If it dies, Rome falls. That's the story. That's the chain they've wrapped around our necks. Secunda hands her a bronze poker. Every hour you stir, every 6 hours you add blessed oak. You never let it go out. What happens if it does? Secunda's face goes white. Last year, a girl named Fabia fell asleep. Just for a moment. The flame died. What did they do? Took her to the chambers beneath the forum, stripped her, tied her up, flogged her with consecrated rods, blessed by priests so her suffering would be holy. Secunda's hands are shaking. She didn't die. That would have been mercy. She walks with a cane now. Her back looks like plowed earth, 24 years left to serve. She places the poker in Livia's hands. Watch. She demonstrates, stir at wood, whisper prayers in a dead language that sounds like wind through graves. Now you. Livia's hands shake. The poker is impossibly heavy. She leans forward and stirs exactly as Secunda showed her. The flame flickers. Her breath catches. It flickers again, then surges steady. Good, Secunda grips her shoulder. But understand, the flame doesn't care if you're tired. Doesn't care if you're sick. Doesn't care if you're 10 or 40. It just burns. And if you fail it, the priests will make sure all of Rome knows it was your weakness that endangered their empire. That's not fair. Fair. Secunda's voice cracks. We're children. We're prisoners. We're hostages to a city that calls us sacred and treats us like tools. You want to know the real secret? She leans close, her breath hot against Livia's ear. The flame isn't magic. It's just fire. Anyone could tend it, slaves, soldiers, priests. But if Rome admits that they lose something more valuable than divine protection, they lose fear. As long as people believe 6 virgin girls are all that stand between them and the god's wrath, Rome controls everything. Livia stares at the fire. Why don't you just let it die? Because they'll kill my family. Because they'll kill me. Because... Secunda's voice breaks. Because I've been here so long I don't remember how to want anything else. So, midnight comes. Livia stands alone in the temple for her first watch. The flame flickers. Outside, she can hear Rome's distant drums. Laughter life happening to people who are free. She's been awake for 21 hours. Her eyes burn. Her legs shake. She pinches her arm, slaps her face, bites her tongue until blood fills her mouth. Stay awake. Stay awake. She stirs, adds wood, whispers dead words to dead gods. Her eyelids droop. Footsteps. Licinia materializes in the doorway like a nightmare made flesh. How long have you been here? Since sundown. Are you tired? Livia knows this is a test. No. Liar. Licinia steps closer. Let me tell you what happens when a Vestal falls asleep on her first watch. We wake her with ice water. Then we take her to the pontifex. He decides if it was negligence or malice. Negligence means flogging. Malice means... She pauses. Something worse. Something that makes you beg for the rods. I won't fall asleep. That's what they all say. Licinia disappears into shadow. Livia stands alone. The flame crackles. Her body screams for rest. She stirs. Adds wood. Prays. Outside Rome sleeps. Inside a 10-year-old girl fights to keep her eyes open, terrified that closing them means learning what worse than flogging means. Dawn breaks gray in the cold. Livia stumbles back to her cell and collapses. Her body is shutting down, but her mind won't stop. She thinks of her mother's screams, the razor, the blood, the hair on the courtyard floor. She thinks of that pathetic flame that apparently holds an empire's fate. And for the first time, the question forms, why her? Why any of them? Why does Rome need virgin children to guard fire? Why not soldiers, priests? Anyone who chose this, the answer will take years to understand. But the seed is planted now in the dark of her cell as exhaustion finally pulls her under. The truth is simple and brutal. Rome doesn't need virgins to protect the flame. Rome needs the flame to control the virgins, and through them to control everyone else. Because as long as people believe that 6 terrified girls are all that stand between them and divine wrath, they'll never question why those girls had to suffer in the first place. The flame isn't eternal. The suffering is. 6 months pass like water through clenched fists. Livia wakes to screaming. Not hers, someone else's. She bolts upright on her cot, heart slamming against her ribs. The stone walls are still dark. Dawn hasn't come yet. But somewhere in the house of Vesta, a girl is shrieking like something caught in a trap and trying to chew off its own leg to escape. Then silence. Sudden. Complete. The kind of silence that's worse than screaming. Livia's hands shake. She knows better than to investigate. 6 months here has taught her the most important rule: whatever you hear, you didn't hear it. Footsteps pass her door. Heavy. Male. The priests aren't supposed to enter the women's quarters after dark, but rules only matter when someone's watching. She pulls her knees to her chest and counts her breaths until morning. When dawn finally breaks, she stumbles to the washroom. 5 other Vestals are already there, lined up at the stone basin. No one speaks. They never do during morning ablutions. Livia takes her place at the end. The water is ice cold, drawn from the spring before sunrise. She splashes it on her face, gasping. That's when she notices. There should be 6 of them. There are only 5. "Where's Fabia?" she whispers to Secunda. Secunda doesn't look at her. Her hands tremble as she washes. Gone. Gone where? Just gone. Don't ask. But Livia's already seen it, the dark stain on Secunda's sleeve. Rust-colored, days old. Blood. What happened last night? Secunda grabs her wrist, squeezing hard enough to bruise. Nothing happened. Do you understand nothing? Fabia couldn't serve anymore. The Pontifex released her from her vows. She went home to her family. That's the story. That's the only story. Her voice cracks. If anyone asks, that's what you say. Word for word. Because if you don't... The door swings open. Licinia enters. Every girl drops into a bow instantly. Heads down, eyes on the floor. Licinia's voice cuts through the silence like a knife through silk. I'm sure you've noticed that Vestal Fabia is no longer with us. She has been granted early release due to health concerns. We wish her well. No one moves. No one breathes. Vestal Junior, you're being promoted. You're now Vestal Tertia. You'll take Fabia's duties at evening watch. Livia's stomach drops. Evening watch is 6 hours. Sunset to midnight. Fabia was 17, strong. If she couldn't handle it, yes, Vestal Maxima. Good. Dismissed. They file out in silence. But as Livia passes Fabia's cell, she sees the door standing open. Inside, the walls are scratched. Deep gouges in the stone like someone tried to claw their way out with bare hands. And written in the corner, so small, you'd miss it unless you were looking. They lie about everything. Livia's blood turns to ice. That night, she stands alone in the temple for her first evening watch. The flame flickers. Outside Rome celebrates drums, laughter, the distant roar of crowds at the Colosseum. She's been here 6 months and hasn't left the compound once. Careful, you're stirring too hard. She spins around. A man stands in the doorway, not a priest too young, maybe 30. He wears a senator's toga. His face is all sharp angles and expensive grooming. Who are you? Marcus Livius Drusus, Senate Committee for Vestal Oversight. I'm here to inspect the flame. He steps closer. You're new. What's your name? Vestal Tertia. Know your real name. Livia's throat tightens. She hasn't said it out loud in 6 months. I don't have one. Everyone has a name. He kneels beside her, studying her face. You're what, 10, 11? 10. Gods. His voice drops. You're just a child. Something in his tone makes her chest hurt. Pity. She hasn't heard pity in so long she'd forgotten what it sounded like. I'm fine, she says automatically. Are you... He glances at her hands. Burns from the flame, cuts from the bronze poker, bruises from Licinia's discipline. Where's the girl who used to do this watch? She left, got sick. They released her. Drusus stares at her. Then quietly, what's your real name? I told you. Your real name. She shouldn't say it. Saying it is treason. But something in her cracks open. Livia Quintana. He nods slowly. Livia, do you know why you're here? To serve Vesta, guard the flame. That's what they tell you. But do you know why Rome needs 6 terrified little girls to guard a fire that any slave could tend? She doesn't answer. It's not about the flame. It's about control. He leans close. You want to know the secret. The flame isn't magic. It's just fire. Anyone could guard it, soldiers, priests, slaves. But if Rome admits that they lose something more valuable than divine protection, what? Fear. As long as people believe that 6 virgin girls are all that stand between them and the god's wrath, they'll give the Vestals anything. Money, land, power. They'll execute anyone accused of defiling you without proof. The priests make laws. The Senate bows, all because of a lie wrapped in white robes and called holy. Livia's hands shake. You're lying. Am I? When was the last time someone asked if you wanted to be here? Never. The answer is never. You're breaking the law, she whispers. Men aren't allowed in the temple after dark. You're right. He stands brushing dust from his toga. But here's the thing about laws, Livia, they only protect the people who make them. And those people don't care about you. They care about what you represent. He walks to the door, then stops. The girl before you, Fabia. She didn't leave. She tried to run. They caught her at the city gates. The Pontifex ordered her flogged in the catacombs where no one could hear. Then they told everyone she'd gone home. Livia's vision blurs. How do you know? Because I was there. Senate committee, remember, I voted to approve her punishment. His voice cracks. I'm telling you this because someone needs to know the truth. Someone needs to remember that this place isn't sacred. It's a prison. And every girl who serves here is just another sacrifice to keep Rome's lie alive. He disappears into the darkness. Livia stands alone, the flame crackling in front of her. They lie about everything. 3 weeks later, the hierarchy reveals itself. It starts at breakfast. The Vestals eat in silence, seated by seniority. Licinia at the head, the others arranged by rank. Livia sits at the far end near the kitchen entrance. She's eating porridge when Secunda's hand slips. Her cup tips. Milk spills across the table, just a small puddle barely worth noticing. Licinia's fork hits her plate. The sound echoes like a gunshot. Vestal Secunda, stand. Secunda's face drains of color. She stands, hands trembling. Clumsiness shows lack of discipline. Lack of discipline shows disrespect to the goddess. It was an accident, Vestal Maxima. There are no accidents, only failures. Licinia rises. She's tall, nearly 6 feet, and moves with the cold precision of a blade. She picks up a wooden rod from the corner consecrated Blessed Holy. Hold out your hands. Secunda obeys. Licinia brings the rod down on her palms. Once, twice, 3 times. The sound echoes off stone walls. Secunda doesn't cry out, but tears stream down her face. Again. 3 more strikes. Blood wells up on Secunda's palms. Again. Vestal Maxima, please. Again. This time Secunda screams. The other Vestals stare at their plates, refusing to look. When it's over, Secunda collapses into her chair, cradling her ruined hands. Licinia sits down and continues eating as if nothing happened. Vestal Junior, she says casually. Since Vestal Secunda can't use her hands, you'll take her watch tonight. All of it, 12 hours. Livia's heart sinks. Yes, Vestal Maxima. After breakfast, she finds Secunda in the washroom trying to clean her wounds. The water turns pink, then red. I'm sorry, Livia whispers. For what? I should have said something. Secunda laughs, bitter and broken. And gotten yourself beaten too, no. You did the right thing. That's how we survive here. We don't protect each other. We just try not to be next. That's not right. Right. Secunda's eyes are hollow. 5 years ago, I thought the same thing. I stood up for another girl, told Licinia she was cruel. You know what happened? Livia shakes her head. They locked me in the dark cell for 2 weeks. No food, just water once a day. Rats. Darkness so complete, I forgot what my own hands looked like. When they let me out, I weighed 60 pounds. Couldn't walk, couldn't think. And the girl I tried to protect, they made her watch my punishment. She grabs Livia's face, forcing eye contact. Listen to me. Licinia isn't the enemy. The priests aren't the enemy. The system is the enemy. And you can't fight a system. You can only survive it long enough to escape. Escape how? By serving 30 years without breaking. That's the only way out. 30 years. Livia is 10. She'll be 40 when she's free, if she survives. 2 months later, during the festival of Vesta, Livia sees her mother for the first time since the selection. The festival is Rome's biggest celebration, the day when Vestals open the temple to the public. Thousands flood the forum, desperate for blessings. Livia stands with the other Vestals on the temple steps, dressed in ceremonial robes. Her head is covered, her face painted white with chalk. She looks like a ghost. The crowd is massive, tens of thousands chanting hymns. And then she sees her. Claudia Quintana standing near the back. Her face is older, harder. Her hair has gone gray at the temples. She's scanning the line of Vestals searching. Their eyes meet. Claudia's hand flies to her mouth. She takes a step forward. Licinia's voice cuts through the air. Vestal Tertia, eyes forward. Livia tears her gaze away. I said forward. But she can feel her mother's eyes burning into her, can feel the weight of everything unsaid. I'm sorry. I miss you. Are you okay? Please be okay. The ceremony continues. Prayers, offerings, torches. When it's over, Licinia leads them back inside. Livia glances back once. Her mother is gone. That night, unable to sleep, Livia creeps to the outer courtyard. The gates are locked, but there's a window overlooking the forum. She presses her face to the bars. Below, Rome sleeps. Somewhere out there, her mother lies awake, wondering if her daughter is still alive. She tried to visit. Livia spins. Secunda sits in shadow, bandaged hands in her lap. What? Your mother, 3 months ago, came to the gates begging to see you. The pontifex turned her away, said contact with family was forbidden. But you said we could see them once a year. See them, not speak, not touch, just see them, from a distance, like looking at a painting of someone you used to love. Tears burn Livia's eyes. Did she say anything? Told the guards to tell you she was proud, that she lights a candle for you every night. A sob tears out of Livia's chest. She clamps her hand over her mouth, but it's too late. 6 months of holding it in, pretending to be strong, pretending she's not a terrified child who just wants her mother. Secunda wraps her arms around her. I know. I hate this place. So do I. I hate them. The priests, Licinia, all of them. So do I. Then why do we stay? Secunda pulls back, meeting her eyes. Because they'll kill us if we run. Because they'll kill our families if we refuse. Because we're not people anymore, Livia. We're symbols, and symbols don't get to choose. In the distance, the temple bell rings. Midnight. Time for the watch to change. Livia wipes her face and stands. She walks back to the temple, back to the flame, back to the endless cycle of stirring and praying and pretending that any of this matters. And for the first time, she understands the real punishment. It's not the flogging. It's not the hunger. It's not even the 30 years of servitude. It's the slow erasure of who you were, piece by piece, until nothing remains but the role they've forced you to play. The flame doesn't consume you all at once. It burns you slowly until you can't remember what it felt like to be whole. It happens on a Tuesday. Livia is 12 now. 2 years have passed since the selection. 2 years of stirring flames and swallowing screams and watching pieces of herself disappear like smoke. She's on midnight watch alone in the temple. Her eyes burn from exhaustion. She's been awake for 19 hours. A punishment. Licinia caught her yawning during morning prayers. The flame flickers in front of her, small and pathetic. Outside, thunder rumbles. A storm is coming. She stirs the embers, adds wood, whispers the dead language prayers that mean nothing anymore. Her eyelids droop. Just for a second. Just 1 second. When she opens her eyes, the flame is smaller. Her heart stops. She adds more wood, stirring frantically. But the flame keeps shrinking, flickering, fighting to stay alive against some invisible wind. No, please, not now. It goes out. The temple plunges into absolute darkness. Livia stands frozen, the poker still in her hands, staring at the place where the flame used to be. The sacred flame. The eternal flame. The flame that protects Rome. Dead. And she killed it. Footsteps. Running. Multiple people. The doors explode inward. Licinia storms in, carrying a torch, 3 priests behind her. What did you do? Livia can't speak, can't move, can't breathe. Licinia grabs her by the throat and slams her against the wall. What did you do? I don't know. I was awake, I swear. Liar. Licinia's nails dig into her skin. You fell asleep. You let the flame die. You've doomed Rome. The Pontifex Maximus steps forward. His face shows nothing. No anger, no disappointment, just cold calculation. Verberatio. Now. Licinia's grip tightens. It will be done. They drag Livia out of the temple, her feet scraping against stone. She tries to fight, but there are too many of them. Down a staircase she's never seen before. Down into darkness. Down into the catacombs beneath the forum where no one can hear you scream. The chamber smells like death and old blood. They throw her onto the floor. Her knees crack against stone. Her palms split open. No windows. No light except the single torch flickering on the wall. The stones are black with soot and something darker. Something that used to be human. Licinia circles her like a wolf around wounded prey. Do you see those marks on the wall? Livia looks up. Scratches. Deep gouges. Names carved by desperate fingernails. 43 girls. 43 failures. They all ended up here. And now you join them. The Pontifex enters carrying a wooden box. When he opens it, Livia sees 12 rods, each one carved with prayers blessed by priests, sanctified for holy punishment. Strip her. 2 priests grab her arms. She fights, screaming, kicking, biting. It doesn't matter. They're stronger. They rip her robe off in one violent motion. Naked again. Always naked when they want to break you. They bind her wrists to an iron ring in the wall. Her arms stretch above her head, her toes barely touching the ground. Every muscle in her shoulders screams. The Pontifex selects a rod, tests its weight. The sacred flame has been extinguished for the first time in 37 years. Rome is vulnerable. The gods are angry. Someone must pay. I didn't mean to. Intent is irrelevant. Only the act matters. He hands the rod to Licinia. 15 strikes. No more. We cannot shed her blood, it would defile her sacred body. But we can teach her the price of failure. Licinia steps behind her. Livia tries to look back, but the chains won't let her turn. Count, Licinia says. If you lose count, we start over. The first strike hits her back like lightning splitting a tree. White-hot agony explodes across her skin. She can't breathe, can't think, can't do anything but feel. 1. She gasps. The second strike crosses the first. Fire spreads through her body. 2. By the 5th strike, she's sobbing so hard she can't speak. Snot runs down her face. Spit. Tears. Count. 5. By the 10th, she's begging. Please stop. I'll never fail again, I promise. You said that after the first strike. By the 15th, she's not sure she's still conscious. The pain has become everything. There's no Livia anymore. No girl. No memories. Just agony wrapped around a fading heartbeat. They cut her down. She collapses like a puppet with severed strings. The Pontifex kneels beside her. The flame will be relit at dawn. You will light it. And every person in Rome will know you failed, that you were punished, and that only through suffering can the gods' favor be restored. He stands brushing dust from his robes. Take her to purification. They drag her down another corridor. Every movement sends fresh agony through her ruined back. They throw her into a pool of freezing water, sacred water, blessed water, salt water that sets her wounds on fire. She's drowning. They're drowning her. Hands pull her up. She gasps for air, coughing, choking. 3 minutes, that's all she needs. They dunk her again, and again, and again. When they finally pull her out for the last time, Livia can't feel anything anymore. Everything has gone numb. She's shivering so violently her teeth chatter. They dress her in fresh robes, white, pristine, as if nothing happened. But underneath her back is a roadmap of violence. Licinia leans close, her breath hot against Livia's ear. Tomorrow you'll stand before Rome and relight the flame. You'll smile, you'll look grateful, and you'll never speak of what happened here. Understand? Livia nods. She doesn't have the strength to do anything else. Say it. I understand. Good, because if you don't, we'll bring you back. And next time we won't stop at 15. Dawn comes too fast and too slow at the same time. Livia stands in the temple, every breath sending fire through her back. The forum is packed, thousands of Romans gathered to witness the relighting of the sacred flame. The pontifex stands beside her, holding a ceremonial torch. His voice booms across the crowd. Last night, the sacred flame was extinguished due to negligence. Vestal Tertia has been punished according to holy law, but Vesta, in her infinite mercy, has granted us the chance to restore her blessing. The crowd murmurs. Fear ripples through them like wind through wheat. He hands Livia the torch. Light it. Her hand shakes so badly she can barely hold it. She lowers the flame to the prepared kindling. It catches immediately, roaring to life. The crowd erupts, cheering, crying, thanking the gods. The pontifex raises his arms. Vesta has forgiven us. Rome is safe. Livia stands there, the flame burning in front of her, the crowd celebrating her redemption. But all she can think is, they're cheering for their own lie. The flame didn't die because of divine anger. It died because a 12-year-old girl was too exhausted to keep her eyes open. And Rome's response wasn't to question why children guard their most sacred fire. It was to beat that child until she learned to fear failure more than death. 1 year passes, then 2 more. Livia is 14 now. Her body has changed curves where there were none, blood that comes monthly and marks her as a woman, even though she still feels like a child. The scars on her back never fully healed. Thin white lines that ache in winter. Sometimes she wakes up thinking she's back in that chamber, bound to the wall, waiting for the first strike. But she's learned. She never falls asleep on watch. She never lets the flame flicker. She moves through the house of Vesta like a ghost, silent, perfect, terrified. The other Vestals have noticed. They call her the Hollow One when they think she can't hear. Because something in her eyes has died. Something that used to be human. Secunda tries to reach her sometimes. You need to eat more. You're disappearing. Livia doesn't answer. She's mastered the art of silence. Livia, please, talk to me. My name is Vestal Tertia. Secunda flinches like she's been slapped. Don't do this. Don't let them erase you completely. But it's too late. Livia Quintana died the night the flame went out. What's left is just a shell, something that breathes and moves and tends fire but doesn't feel anymore. Feeling is dangerous. Feeling leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to the chamber. Better to be empty. Better to be nothing. The twist comes on a winter morning when a new girl arrives. Her name is Julia. She's 10 years old with dark curls and eyes that still remember hope. They drag her through the gates while her mother screams. They shave her head. They break her with words and violence until she's just another hollow-eyed virgin in white robes. That night, Julia is assigned to Livia's cell. She sits on the cot, hugging her knees, crying silently. Livia should comfort her, should tell her it gets easier, should lie. But she can't. Because it doesn't get easier. The screaming just moves inside your head where no one else can hear it. Does it ever stop hurting? Julia whispers. Livia stares at the wall. No. How do you survive? For the first time in 2 years, something cracks open in Livia's chest. Something that might be anger, or grief, or the last desperate gasp of who she used to be. You don't survive. You just stop dying loud enough for them to notice. Julia stares at her, confused and terrified. Livia lies down, turning her back to the girl. Get some sleep. Your first watch starts at midnight. But she doesn't sleep. She lies there listening to Julia cry and thinks about the question no one ever asks. What happens to the girls who serve 30 years and survive? Where do they go? Who takes them? What kind of life can you have after 3 decades of fear? And then another question, more dangerous. What if we didn't have to wait 30 years? What if there was another way out? The thought is treason. The thought is death. But it plants itself in her mind like a seed in poisoned soil. 3 months later, Senator Drusus returns. Livia is on evening watch when he appears in the doorway. Older now. Grayer. but his eyes still hold that dangerous thing called compassion. "Hello, Livia." She doesn't look up from the flame. "You shouldn't be here." "Probably not." He steps inside anyway. "I heard about what happened, the flame, the punishment." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." He kneels beside her. "I voted against it, for whatever that's worth. I was the only one." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm tired of pretending, and because I think you are too." Livia finally meets his eyes. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I want to give you something." He pulls out a small scroll. This is a list. Names of every Vestal Virgin who served in the last 100 years, and next to each name, what really happened to them. "I don't want that." "Yes, you do. Because out of 96 girls, only 12 completed their full service and were released. 12. Do you know what happened to the other 84? Livia's hands are shaking. Don't. 37 were executed for breaking their vows, most without trial or evidence. 21 died of illness, though the records suggest starvation and neglect. 14 disappeared, no record of release, no record of death. They just vanished. And 12 killed themselves. The numbers hit like blows. Why are you telling me this? Because someone needs to know the truth. Because this system survives on silence. And because... His voice cracks. Because my daughter was selected 3 years ago. She was 9. She lasted 8 months before she hanged herself in her cell. They told me it was an accident, that she tripped and fell. But I saw her body. I know what rope marks look like. Tears streamed down his face. They erased her. Told everyone she'd been released. But I know the truth. And I can't let it keep happening. Livia takes the scroll with trembling hands. What am I supposed to do with this? Survive, remember. And when you're finally free, if you're finally free, tell someone. Anyone. Make sure the world knows what Rome does to little girls in the name of the gods. He stands to leave, then pauses. There's one more thing you should know. The selection isn't random. The Pontifex chooses girls from specific families, ones with wealth, but no political power. Ones who can't fight back. Your father was in debt to a senator. The senator demanded payment. Your father couldn't pay. So they took you instead. The words hollow her out. My father sold me. Your father had no choice. But yes, in a way, he sold you. Drusus disappears into the night, leaving Livia alone with the truth. She was never chosen by the gods. She was a debt payment, a transaction, a piece of property exchanged between powerful men. Everything she suffered. The razor, the flogging, the endless terror. All of it was just business. She stands there, the scroll heavy in her hands, and feels the last piece of the girl she used to be finally die. But in its place, something new is born. Not hope. Hope is too fragile. Rage. Cold. Focused. Patient. The kind of rage that doesn't scream. The kind that waits. That night, Livia reads the scroll by the light of the sacred flame. Name after name. Girl after girl. Each one a story of suffering ended too soon or stretched too long. She finds Fabia's name. Cause of death. Released for health reasons. Real cause, flogged to death after attempted escape. She finds another name she recognizes. Vestal Prima, who served before Livia arrived. Cause of death, completed service. Real cause executed 3 days before her release for alleged unchastity. No trial, no evidence, just an accusation from a priest she'd rejected. The list goes on, and on, and on. Julia wakes up and finds Livia sitting in the dark, the scroll open on her lap. What is that? The truth. About what? Livia looks at her, this 10-year-old child with her whole life stolen from her. About what happens to girls like us. I don't understand. You will. Eventually. We all do. Livia rolls up the scroll and hides it under her mattress. But here's what you need to know right now. This place survives because we're too afraid to fight back. Because we believe we're powerless. Because we think if we just endure, eventually, we'll be free. Won't we? No, because freedom isn't what they give you after 30 years. Freedom is what they take the moment you walk through those gates. Julia's eyes are wide. What are you going to do? Livia stares at the wall where previous girls carved their names, where desperate fingers scratched messages into stone, where hope went to die. I don't know yet, but I know this: I'm not going to let them erase me, and I'm not going to let them erase you either. It's a promise, or maybe a threat. Either way, it's the first time in 4 years that Livia Quintana has felt anything close to alive. The flame doesn't care about justice. It just burns. But fire, if you're patient enough, can also be a weapon. 2 years crawl by like wounded animals. Livia is 16 now. She's survived 6 years in the house of Vesta, longer than most. Her body has finished changing into something she barely recognizes. Her face has hardened into the same mask the older Vestals wear. But behind that mask, something dangerous is growing. The scroll Senator Drusus gave her is hidden beneath a loose stone in her cell. She's read it so many times the parchment is wearing thin. 84 names, 84 girls who didn't make it. She's memorized every one. Julia is 12 now, still alive, still fighting in her own quiet way. They share a cell, and sometimes late at night they whisper to each other about impossible things. Freedom, revenge, a world where little girls aren't property. But today, none of that matters. Because today, Aurelia is going to die. It starts at dawn. Licinia enters the dining hall, and her face tells them everything before she speaks. Something terrible is about to happen. Vestal Aurelia has been accused of incestum, breaking her sacred vow of chastity. The room goes silent. Aurelia, 18 years old, 8 years of service, sits frozen at the table. Her face drains of color. That's not true, Aurelia whispers. I would never. The Pontifex Maximus has received testimony from a reliable witness. You were seen in the company of a man, alone, after dark. He was my brother. He came to tell me our mother was dying. Vestals have no family. You know this. Aurelia's voice cracks. She was dying. I just wanted to say goodbye. Your vow comes before blood, always. Licinia's face shows nothing. The Senate has voted. The punishment is decided. At sunset, you will be taken to the Campus Sceleratus, the field of the wicked. Every Vestal in the room knows what that means. It's a death sentence, but not a clean one, not a merciful one. They're going to bury her alive. Aurelia stands her chair scraping against stone. No, I won't, you can't. 2 priests appear from nowhere and grab her arms. She fights screaming, clawing at them. They drag her out of the dining hall. Her screams echo through the corridors long after she's gone. The other Vestals sit in silence, staring at their plates. No one eats. No one speaks. Livia's hands are shaking. She looks at Secunda across the table. Secunda's face is wet with silent tears. We have to do something, Livia whispers. Secunda shakes her head. There's nothing we can do. We could testify, tell them the truth. They don't care about truth. They care about examples. Aurelia's family insulted the wrong senator last month. This is retribution. Livia's blood turns to ice. She's innocent. Probably. Does it matter? Secunda wipes her eyes. This is what they do. Someone needs to be punished. Someone needs to die. So they choose one of us and call it holy. That's murder. No, it's politics. At sunset, they force all the Vestals to attend the execution. Tradition, they call it. A reminder of what happens when sacred vows are broken. They dress Aurelia like a bride. White robes, white veil, flowers in her hair. She looks beautiful and broken and utterly terrified. They seal her mouth with wax so she cannot speak, cannot plead, cannot curse the men who are killing her. The procession moves through Rome like a funeral march. Thousands line the streets watching, whispering, weeping. Some throw flowers, some throw stones, most just stare. Livia walks with the other Vestals, forced to witness, forced to remember, forced to understand that this could be any of them. The campus Celeratus sits outside the city walls, a small field, unremarkable except for the hole in the ground. A stairway descends into darkness. At the bottom, a chamber barely large enough for one person. Inside, a lamp, bread, water, milk. Just enough to pretend mercy. Just enough to make the death slower. The Pontifex Maximus speaks to the crowd. His voice carries across the field. Vesta demands purity. When that purity is violated, the earth itself must cleanse the stain. Vestal Aurelia has broken her sacred vow. She must return to the earth that gave her life. It's all lies, every word. But the crowd believes it because they need to believe it. Because if the Vestals aren't sacred, if the punishments aren't holy, then Rome's entire moral foundation crumbles. They lead Aurelia to the stairway. She can't speak through the wax, but her eyes scream everything. Terror. Disbelief. Please, someone. Anyone. Help me. No one moves. Livia tries to step forward. Secunda grabs her arm, digging her nails in. Don't. They'll bury you too. We can't just let them. We don't have a choice. But Livia tears free. She pushes through the crowd of Vestals. Stop. She's innocent. The man was her brother. A priest's hand clamps over her mouth. Another grabs her arms, wrenching them behind her back. Pain shoots through her shoulders. Licinia appears in front of her, her face cold as marble. One more word, and you join her. Livia goes silent, but her eyes lock with Aurelia's across the distance. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Aurelia nods once, a tiny movement. Forgiveness, or resignation, or just acknowledgement that they're both powerless. Then she turns and walks down the stairs herself. No one forces her. She chooses to walk into her own grave with whatever dignity she has left. The entrance is sealed with a stone slab, then dirt, then more stones, layer after layer, until there's nothing but a small mound of earth. The crowd disperses. The priests leave. The Vestals are marched back to the house. Underground in the darkness, Aurelia sits with her lamp and her bread and her terror. The air is already growing thin. Her chest tightens with each breath. She tries to scream, but the wax holds her mouth shut. She claws at her lips, ripping the wax away. Blood runs down her chin. Help someone, please! No one hears. No one comes. She pounds on the stone ceiling until her hands break. She screams until her voice gives out. She prays to Vesta, to Jupiter, to any god who might listen. None of them answer. The lamp burns for 6 hours. Then the oil runs out. Darkness swallows her whole. She sits in the black, gasping for air that isn't there anymore, and waits for the end. It takes 3 days for her to die. 3 days of slow suffocation. 3 days of darkness and thirst, and the weight of Rome's righteousness pressing down on her chest. 3 days for a crime she didn't commit. Above ground, Rome moves on. Markets open. Children play. Politicians argue. Life continues as if a girl isn't dying beneath their feet. As if her death means anything beyond a warning to the others, obey or be buried. The night after the execution, Livia doesn't go to her cell. She goes to the temple instead and stands in front of the flame. Julia finds her there an hour later. You should sleep. I can't. Secunda said you tried to stop them. She said that was brave. It wasn't brave. It was pointless. Livia's voice is hollow. She's dead, and I'm alive, and nothing changed. You tried. That matters. Does it? Livia turns to face her. Does trying matter when you fail? Does standing up matter when they just knock you back down? Does any of this matter when they can murder us whenever they want and call it holy? Julia doesn't have an answer. Livia looks at the flame. The eternal flame, the sacred flame, the flame that's supposed to protect Rome from divine wrath. You know what I realized today? This flame isn't protecting Rome. We are. Our fear, our obedience, our willingness to watch them kill us and call it justice. Her voice hardens. We're not servants of the gods. We're hostages, and they've convinced the whole city that our suffering keeps them safe. What are you saying? Livia reaches for the poker. Her hand hovers over it. One motion and she could scatter the embers. One moment and she could let the flame die. I'm saying maybe Rome deserves to fall. Livia. They buried her alive. They sealed her mouth so she couldn't even scream. They gave her just enough air to suffer for days. Tears streamed down her face. And tomorrow the Pontifex will tell everyone that Vesta demanded it, that the gods required her death, that we're all safer now. She grips the poker so hard her knuckles turn white. It's all a lie, every piece of it. The sacred vows, the eternal flame, the divine protection. All of it is just a story they tell to justify treating us like property. So what do we do? I don't know, but I know I can't keep pretending. I can't keep stirring this fire and bowing to these priests and acting like this is normal. And she turns to Julia. Aurelia was 18. She had 12 years left. 12 years and she would have been free. And they killed her anyway because it was convenient. Julia's voice is small. Will they kill us too? Eventually, one way or another, through punishment or exhaustion or just the slow grinding away of everything that makes us human. Livia puts the poker down. But maybe if enough people knew the truth, if someone finally spoke up, if we stopped being silent, they'd bury us too. You know that. I know. But at least we'd die with our voices instead of with wax sealing our mouths shut. The twist comes 3 days later when they retrieve Aurelia's body. It's ceremony, not kindness. The priests need to confirm death before they can declare the punishment complete. 2 slaves descend into the chamber and bring her up. What emerges isn't recognizable as human. Her face is blue. Her eyes are wide open, bulging from their sockets. Her mouth is locked in a scream. Her fingernails are torn off from clawing at stone. Blood has dried under her nose and around her lips. But the worst part, the detail that will haunt Livia for the rest of her life, is the message scratched into the chamber wall. Using her own blood and broken fingernails, Aurelia wrote, "I was innocent. They lie about everything. Remember me." The priests see it. They order the slaves to chip away the stone to erase the message before anyone else can read it. But Livia sees it first, and she memorizes every word. That night, she takes out the scroll and adds Aurelia's name to the list. Under cause of death, she writes the truth: murdered by Rome for political convenience, buried alive, suffered for 3 days. Last words, I was innocent. Then she does something dangerous, something that could get her killed. She makes copies. Using stolen parchment and ink, she copies the list of names. Every girl, every death, every lie Rome told about their fate. She makes 5 copies. Then 10, then 20. Julia watches from her cot. What are you doing? Making sure they can't erase us, making sure someone remembers. What are you going to do with those? Livia doesn't answer immediately. She's thinking about Senator Drusus, about his daughter who hanged herself, about his grief and his rage and his desperate need for someone to know the truth. I'm going to make them impossible to ignore. She folds the scrolls carefully and hides them in different places throughout the house of Vesta. Behind loose stones, under floorboards, in the spaces between roof tiles. If they find one, there are 19 more. If they destroy 10, 10 remain. The truth becomes like the flame they guard, impossible to completely extinguish. They'll kill you if they find out, Julia whispers. Probably, but you know what's worse than dying? Livia looks at her. Living the next 24 years, knowing I could have done something and chose silence instead. knowing I let them erase Aurelia like she never existed, knowing I helped them lie. She thinks about Aurelia's message scratched into stone with broken fingernails. Remember me. I'll remember. Livia whispers to the darkness. I promise. And I'll make sure Rome remembers too. It's a vow more sacred than any she's ever spoken in the temple. A promise made not to gods, but to the dead, to all the girls who came before, to all the girls who will come after if nothing changes. The flame doesn't care about justice, but memory is its own kind of fire, and once lit, it's much harder to extinguish. 14 years later, Livia is 30 years old. She stands at the gates of the house of Vesta for the last time, wearing civilian clothes that feel strange against her skin. After 20 years of white robe's color feels like a betrayal. The Pontifex Maximus places a small purse of gold in her hands, her pension, payment for 2 decades of service. You are released from your sacred vows. May Vesta bless your remaining years. That's it. No ceremony, no gratitude. Just a handful of coins and a dismissal. Livia walks through the gates. They close behind her with finality. Free. After 20 years, she's finally free. She makes it 3 blocks before she has to stop and lean against a wall. Her legs won't hold her. Her chest is tight. She can't breathe. Free. The word means nothing. Feels like nothing. She's 30 years old but looks 50. Her hair grown back over the years is already graying at the temples. Her back aches constantly from old scars. Her hands shake from 2 decades of exhaustion. Where does she go? She has no family. Her parents died years ago and she wasn't allowed to attend their funerals. She has no friends outside the house. No skills beyond tending flame and memorizing prayers. She's free, and she's never been more trapped. She finds a small room to rent near the Tiber. The landlord looks at her strangely when she explains she's a former Vestal. His expression shifts between reverence and discomfort. Sacred, but damaged. Holy, but used up. No men allowed in your room, he says. I run a respectable establishment. Livia almost laughs. After 20 years of forced celibacy, the idea of wanting a man in her room is absurd. But she just nods and pays her first month's rent. That night, she lies on a real bed for the first time in 20 years and cannot sleep. The room is too quiet, too dark. There's no flame to tend, no watch to keep, no prayers to whisper. She gets up and lights every oil lamp in the room. 7 of them. She sits in the center of the light and finally allows herself to cry. Not for herself, for all of them. For Aurelia buried alive. For Fabia flogged to death. For the 84 names on the scroll. For Julia, who still has 16 years left to serve. For every girl who walked through those gates and never walked out. The tears don't stop. They pour out like something broken inside her has finally cracked open. She cries until her throat is raw and her eyes are swollen and dawn light creeps through the window. When she finally stops, she feels hollow, empty, like crying out all the grief has left nothing behind. But then she remembers the scrolls, 20 copies hidden throughout the house of Vesta, 20 pieces of truth waiting to be found. She's out now, which means she can speak. She can tell. She can make them listen. She starts small. At the market, when women ask where she's been for 20 years, she tells them. Not the propaganda version, the real one. The selection that wasn't random. The punishments that weren't holy. The girls who died for political convenience. Most don't believe her. The Vestals are sacred. The priests wouldn't lie. Some do believe her, but whisper that she shouldn't speak such things. You'll bring divine wrath on all of us. Just a few, listen with eyes that know. Women who've lost daughters to the selection. Mothers who've stood in the forum watching their children and not being allowed to touch them. I knew, one woman whispers. I knew it was wrong. But what could I do? Tell others, Livia says. Tell everyone. Make them see. She starts writing. She has no formal education, but 20 years of memorizing prayers has made her literate. She copies the scroll from memory and posts it in the forum at night when no one's watching. By morning, it's been torn down. But she posts another and another. The priests notice. Of course they notice. 1 month after her release, Licinia appears at her door. Livia opens it to find her former tormentor standing there. Licinia is 50 now, still serving her face a mask of cold authority. You need to stop. Stop what? You know what, the writings, the stories, the lies. They're not lies. They're names. Girls who died because Rome needed examples. Licinia's voice drops. You think you're the first to try this. You think no one's ever attempted to expose the truth. She steps closer. 3 former Vestals before you tried to speak out. All 3 died within a year. Accidents officially. Murdered, actually. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. They will kill you. And then they'll erase you just like they erased the others. And 20 years from now, some other girl will try to do what you're doing and she'll die too. Licinia's mask cracks for just a moment. Please, just be silent. Live quietly. Die peacefully. That's the only freedom we get. I can't. You have to. No. Livia meets her eyes. I spent 20 years being silent. 20 years watching them lie and torture and kill. I'm done being silent, even if it kills me. Licinia stares at her for a long moment. Then quietly, it will kill you. You know that, right? I know. And you're doing it anyway. Someone has to. Licinia turns to leave, then pauses. The scrolls you hid. We found 18 of them, but 2 are still missing, just so you know. She walks away. Livia closes the door and leans against it. 18 found. 2 remaining. 2 pieces of truth still hidden, waiting for someone brave enough to find them. It's not enough, but it's something. 6 months pass. Livia continues writing, posting, speaking. She attends public gatherings and tells her story. Most people ignore her. Some call her crazy. A few listen. Then Senator Drusus finds her. He's older now, grayer, but his eyes still hold that dangerous compassion. I heard you were out. I've been looking for you. Why? Because you're doing what I've been too cowardly to do. He pulls out a scroll, one of her copies. This appeared in the Senate 3 days ago, anonymous. But I recognized the handwriting. It's caused quite a stir. They'll kill me for it. I know. That's why I'm here. He hands her a letter. This is passage on a ship to Athens. It leaves in 2 days. New name, new life. You'll be safe there. Livia stares at the letter. Freedom, real freedom. A chance to live without looking over her shoulder. I can't. Yes, you can. Take it. Go. Live. If I leave, who speaks for them? Who remembers Aurelia? Who tells the truth about Fabia and all the others? She hands the letter back. I appreciate this, truly, but I can't run. Not anymore. Drusus's eyes fill with tears. Then let me help. Let me stand with you. You have a family, children. They'll destroy you. My daughter was destroyed by this system. If speaking out costs me everything, then so be it. At least I'll have done something that mattered. Together, they begin to build something dangerous. Not a rebellion. Rome doesn't tolerate those, but a movement. Quiet, persistent, truthful. They find other former Vestals. 4 still alive, scattered across Italy, all too afraid to speak. Livia convinces them one by one. They can kill one of us, but if we all speak, if we all tell the truth, they can't silence everyone. They gather testimonies, names, dates, details of punishments that were supposed to stay secret. They approach sympathetic senators, men who've lost daughters, men who've seen the corruption firsthand, men who are tired of the lies. It takes another year, a year of late-night meetings and coded messages and constantly looking over their shoulders. But finally, they have enough. Senator Drusus stands before the Senate and reads the names. All 96 Vestals who've served in the past century. And beside each name, the truth about what happened to them. The Senate erupts in chaos. Half demand his execution for blasphemy. Half sit in stunned silence. The Pontifex Maximus demands a vote to have Drusus stripped of his position. The vote fails. Barely. But it fails. Something has shifted. The lie has cracks in it now. Small ones, but cracks nonetheless. That night, Livia wakes to her room on fire. Not an accident. Arson. The flames spread fast, consuming everything. She barely makes it out. Her hair is singed. Her arms are burned. She collapses in the street, gasping for air, watching her home. Her small piece of freedom turned to ash. A crowd gathers. Someone calls for water. Someone else calls for the vigils Rome's fire brigade. Livia lies on the cold stone and understands. This is the answer. They can't kill her publicly anymore. Too many people are watching. But they can make accidents happen. Fires, falls, illnesses. She's dying. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon. The question is, has she done enough? She thinks about the 2 scrolls still hidden in the house of Vesta. About the testimonies they've gathered. About Senator Drusus standing before the Senate and speaking truth to power. About Julia, who's 28 now with just 2 years left to serve, who sent her a message last month saying simply, "Keep going. We see you. We remember." Maybe it's enough. Maybe it's not. But it's all she has. 3 months later, Livia lies in a charity hospital bed, dying from infected burns and what the physicians call consumption, but is really just exhaustion. Her body has given up after fighting for so long. Julia visits her. She's 30 now, just released from her vows. She looks like Livia did 6 months ago, hollow, damaged, free in name only. "I found one," Julia whispers. "One of the scrolls, hidden behind a stone in the washing chamber. I copied it, gave it to 12 different people before I left." Livia smiles. It hurts to smile. Everything hurts. Good. Senator Drusus is introducing legislation, not to end the Vestals that would never pass, but to change the selection, make it voluntary, raise the minimum age to 16, limit service to 10 years instead of 30. Will it pass? I don't know, but people are talking about it. That's something. It's something. Not everything, not justice, but something. Julia holds her hand. Was it worth it? All of this. Livia thinks about Aurelia's message scratched into stone with broken fingernails. "I was innocent. Remember me." "Yes," she whispers, "because they can't erase us anymore. Even if they kill me, even if the legislation fails, even if everything goes back to the way it was, someone will remember, someone will know the truth. And that truth will outlive Rome itself." She closes her eyes. The flame they made us guard was supposed to be eternal. But flames die. They always do. Memory, though memory burns differently. You can't extinguish it with stone or silence or death. It just keeps burning past from person to person, generation to generation. Her breathing slows. "Promise me you'll keep telling the story, even when it's dangerous. Even when no one wants to hear it." "I promise. And Julia, don't let them make you bitter. Don't let the cruelty turn you cruel. That's what they want. They want us to become like them." Julia's crying now. "What should I become instead? A witness. Someone who refuses to forget. Someone who looks at the next 10-year-old girl and sees a person, not property." Livia's voice is barely a whisper now. "That's how we win. Not by destroying them, but by refusing to let them destroy us." She dies that night, quietly, alone except for Julia. The official cause of death, complications from a fire, an accident, nothing more. But Julia knows better, and so do the 4 other former Vestals, and so does Senator Drusus, and so do the 12 people Julia gave the scroll to. And so do the hundreds who heard Livia speak in the forum. The truth spreads like fire, slow at first, easy to contain, but persistent. 20 years later, the legislation finally passes. Vestals must be at least 16 to serve. Service is limited to 15 years. Families can refuse without punishment. It's not perfect. Girls still serve. Girls still suffer, but fewer than before. And the ones who do serve know they're not alone. Know someone is watching. Know the lie has been exposed. 50 years later, someone finds the second hidden scroll. It's added to the growing collection of testimonies. The truth becomes impossible to deny. 100 years later, the practice of burying Vestals alive is officially ended, declared barbaric, unconscionable. 200 years later, the last Vestal Virgin serves her final watch. The eternal flame is extinguished. Not because Rome fell, but because Rome finally admitted it never needed virgin girls to keep it safe. The House of Vesta becomes a monument, not to the glory of Rome's piety, but to the girls who died maintaining it. On the wall, someone etches 96 names, and beside them the words, "They were children, they were innocent, they were sacrificed to a lie. Remember them." The gods are gone now. The empire that claimed divine favor has crumbled into dust. The priests who declared punishments holy have been forgotten. But the girls remain, in stone, in memory, in the stories mothers tell daughters about the cost of silence. Livia Quintana never became famous. History barely remembers her name. But she did something more important than fame. She refused to let them be erased. And in the end, that's the only flame that truly matters. Not the one that burns in temples, but the one that burns in memory. The one that says, this happened. These girls existed. Their suffering was real, and it must never happen again. Rome built its glory on their pain, but they are remembered for their resistance. The flame isn't eternal. But the truth is, if you believe their names deserve to live on, share this story. Write a name in the comments. Make sure someone remembers. Because forgetting is how cruelty returns. And remembering is the only way to keep that flame from burning again.